The quiet bus emerged from the grey and snuck up on Eric as he sat on the stop bench brooding, cursing the world, and farming Azure Loomies in his own Shimmerfields campaign. He tried to focus on the grand dilemma of whether he should buy another pack for real money or save the cash for after Hope, but even that failed to take his mind off Sabrina. What the hell was he supposed to do? He had to get her to go in with him, but how? Was it even possible, legally speaking? Everyone had made such a huge deal of the whole family together policy. No one spoke about families that didn't want to be together. Or shouldn't, for that matter. And appealing optics, that? Bad marketing. Screw it. He hopped on the bus and chose buy Loomies on the hologram. Quite hypocritical, seeing how just 2 days ago he went on a tirade about people spending money on junk with no foresight, as if the world was actually ending. But he really needed to treat himself right now. Eric was curious if he'd lived to see the day where there would be a lot of cheap physical crap to buy again, like in the good old times. People said that once Hope, quote-unquote, reversed the eco-trajectory and the new technology started doing their magic, they could see a lot of those cool things coming back. Though given how Eric's mother already couldn't stand the mess he made, perhaps it was better to stick to hoarding digital clutter. He took the most reclusive bus seat he could find, right behind the front window. After the AI kerfuffle, which caused the bus to ride face first into a construction beam, a lot of people chose to avoid this one. Even though the chance of the accident repeating was about as big as that of a horde of furious badgers invading the city, which had actually happened 18 years ago and sounded like the coolest thing ever. Alas, despite his courageous precautions, Eric's solitary ride didn't last long. "Skinny? Is that you? Hey!" Philippa, his classmate, beelined for the empty space beside him. "Haven't seen you in a while." Eric sighed internally and turned off the ring. He was glad neither to see Philippa nor to hear his school nickname again. Yes, it was possible that eating healthy was better than eating a lot, but it did him no favors in social life. "Well, the word got a bit awkward pre-lunch," he said. "Everything's to be continued." Philippa nodded. "Can't say I miss school per se, but I guess it was calming in its sucky way," she said. "Oh, to worry about grades and angry teachers again, instead of getting plugged into an insane simulation." She swirled her head theatrically, releasing a bunch of black strands from her makeshift bun. Eric was not in the mood for a deep talk, but that was all Philippa ever did, and with 6 stops ahead of him, he had to come to terms with his fate. "This too shall pass," he said. "Every generation has to deal with some huge mess. It works out in the end." Philippa turned his way and threw her arm over the seat's backrest. "This is different, Eric. The world is different now. We are not moving forward. We are tumbling back." Change often felt that way, and the world was always changing. Eric shrugged, closed his eyes, and leaned his head on the window. "The actual crazy thing here is how all the governments came to an agreement and are getting something done for once. Now that's pure insanity." "Yeah, all governments," Philippa scoffed, and Eric didn't need to look at her to know he was getting the sourest of judgmental gazes. "Aside of the whole Uncounters world, but that doesn't count, right?" This time Eric let himself sigh aloud. When the drought came, and the first world borders closed in the advent of the human deluge, people divided into 2 main camps. Those who believed it was necessary for survival, and those who wouldn't stand by cutting off all humanitarian aid to the beyond. The conflict nearly resulted in a civil war. Put under the wall, the leaders allowed the scientists to publish sets of independent reports filled with aptly apocalyptic data. Following that, a grand majority of the populace accepted the separation. Altruism was the privilege of the affluent, and affluence was a bygone concept. Eric was glad he'd been born after the lockdown had taken place. It was a gnarly period, and a gnarly task to teach people to let go of a part of their humanity. "Are you excited to go in?" Philippa asked. "Not anymore." She tilted her head, instantly intrigued. unaware yet of how let down she'd be by Eric's reason. Really? Eric shrugged and glanced at her. Philippa opened her mouth and inhaled a little air, then closed it, then did that again and once more. And then she said, "I don't think we should go in if we don't want to." She paused, as if to measure Eric's response. But since all his emotions were tied up with the Sabrina situation, his face remained blank. In Philippa's book, that was encouragement enough. She continued, "They have no right to force this on us. There must be some law to protect us." Eric snorted and closed his eyes again. "Suppose there is," he said. "Suppose we stay, together with millions of others. The resources deplete, our societies crumble, as others already have, and then what?" People tend to forget why Lyra developed hope. Hope! Philippa fidgeted, her faux leather jacket rubbing against the metal seat. Eric, look at me." "What? Eric, do you know it was first called Project Respite?" she asked. "Before it was announced, between Lyra and the scientists, it was called that. Not a respite for people, by the way, a respite from people." "Well," Eric chuckled, "I can see why they changed the name then." "That's it. That's all you have to say." "What does it change? So they had an unfortunate name for it. It is no secret the project is focused on saving the Earth, and guess who messed it up?" Eric scoffed. "The whole simulation business? Honestly, it's just a bonus. Might have well put us all in a coma for 5 years and told us to suck it up," he said. "And that would still beat the alternatives." "So why did you say you don't want to go in if you're so for it?" Philippa asked, not even trying to hide her disdain. "Because Sabrina can't go in. If she did, I'd be more than happy to do my part," Eric said. "I honestly looked forward to it. I want to see what our world can be like in the future, you know? It's awesome." The vanilla realm of Project Hope, the core designed by Lyra based on heavily modified Ultralux technology, was nothing more than a healed Earth. When she presented it to the public for the first time, she said she called it Hope because it would let people spend their time in the simulation, feeling just that. Philippa pursed her lips and looked ahead. "Think of it like this, Philippa," Eric said. "The world without Project Hope is way scarier than anything the simulation can do." When Eric came home, Grandpa was watching some news stream in the living room, rolling his old-school encrusted cane with his foot over the carpet. With the launch getting ever closer, that was pretty much all he did. With everyone's basic income cut by a third to support the Hope preparations, he became even more averse to spending money on entertainment. Eric felt a pang of guilt about the Loomis he'd purchased earlier, but in his defense, he was making a little extra for joining the community effort of setting up the local stasis centers. The clinking and banging coming from the kitchen meant that Mom was cooking dinner already. Dad was likely still at work, trying to squeeze the final bits of profits before everyone's savings account got frozen. Eric absolutely loved that only scientists, doctors, and select engineers were staying outside. It didn't matter if you were a game developer, a hooker, a priest, a billionaire businessman, or the country's top politician. Either you were certifiably vital here, or the immediate family of a certifiably vital person, or into the Hope you go. Sure, culture was important, but the world would survive a few years without new songs, poems, or even televised stupidity. Sabrina liked to compare it to Danse Macabre. At long last, everyone was equal. And the cherry on top? The launch would put a general end to petty politics. Every country within the zone would be placed under the already established Technocratic Council for the entirety of Project Hope's duration. The only basis for any decisions made would be cold, hard science. And cold, hard science was incorruptible. Mostly. Eric quietly hoped things might stay that way even after the Great Awakening. The scientists were smart people. Maybe, given the opportunity, They could figure out a way to keep science in charge. Hey, Grandpa. Eric walked up to the sofa and patted the man on the shoulder. Ready to play? Never. Great. Let's go then. Pick something fun. And static. Grandfather turned around to look at Eric and quickly his face soured. What's with you? Me? Nothing. Oh, he was not going to tell anyone about Sabrina right now. No way. I know this blank smile of yours, son. I swear I won't be a bummer. Come on. Mom, as always, heard everything that happened in any corner of the house, and she promptly emerged from the kitchen to say, Eric, honey, do not stew in your emotions. It's unhealthy. Jesus, fine. I bought a stuff pack in a game and it gave me garbage, okay? It's annoying. I'm annoyed. But I'll be fine soon. It's seriously not a problem. Grandpa would have bought it. But it was a snowball's chance in hell. Mom would. Luckily, Eric got saved by the literal bell. Or so he thought. For a second. As he rushed to open the door and escape the family interrogators, he saw none other than Sabrina waiting on the other side. What are you doing here? Eric asked. Bringing the Ultralux. She raised the device. You're going to be a baby and won't pick it up. I know you. Your grandpa shouldn't suffer for that. She wore Eric's favorite blue blouse and the matching bow headband that he often said melted his heart. He had no doubt she put them on purpose. But this time, he wasn't going to cut it. He snapped at her. Oh, and you're always so perfect, just thinking about everyone else. Absolutely flawless. Oh, shut up, Eric, she snapped back. Do you think it's easy for me? Because I guarantee you it's not, and you're making it so much worse. Well, that's about all I can do here, isn't it? You, on the other hand. Eric stopped himself. He didn't want to fight with her. He was angry because he was terrified of being apart from her. So what the hell was he doing pushing her away? His shoulders slouched and the angry grimace faded away. Sabrina, is there any way you could go? I mean, does the law require you to stay? No, she said. They want people to go in. They wouldn't stop me. But Dad wants me here. To do what? Sit around alone so he has someone to talk to for half an hour before bed? It's not going to be any different than it is now. In fact, it could get worse. Yes, it could, and it will be hard on him. This half an hour matters. And the other 23 and a half you're stuck there, they don't? Sabrina grabbed Eric by his shirt and pulled him outside, then shut the door behind him. She looked him in the eye for a second, and then fell to her knees. Eric, marry me, she said. No, demanded. Eric burst into laughter, but it lasted mere seconds as Sabrina's expression quickly changed from adorable to homicidal. I'm not laughing at the idea! He raised his hands up in defense. Sabrina, I love you, he said. For the first time, but he didn't waver. And being married to you sounds like destiny. But not now, not as I walk around. Please, you could stay here with me. But is this a world you want to stay in? I want to be in a world with you in it. I don't care which world it is. Eric put the Ultralux on the windowsill, stepped back up to Sabrina, and knelt down as well. Ouch. The gravel pathway was the single worst place they could have chosen for this. Then you marry me. In hope, he said, taking her big hands. Bigger than his, somehow. We can go medieval. Fine, I concede. I'll be a bloody knight for you, and I'll be happy with it, I promise. Just come. Sabrina rolled her eyes, but a delicate smile painted on her lips. I don't want a knight, silly. I want a Robin Hood kind of thief. Fine then. I'll procure a pair of tights, and I shall deliver the noble rogue. He wasn't exactly noble. He was still a thief, you know. Sabrina. I can't leave my dad all alone here. Why are you making it this hard? Because I want you to be happy. And this is not going to be a happy place, Eric said. TV will be weird, games won't function, internet will have like 3 people on it. And in hope? Sabrina, imagine a blue sky, and you can marry me under it. And just then, the door to the house burst open. Eric's mom, pale as a ghost, announced in a shaky voice, "Lyra is dead." "What?" Both Sabrina and Eric jumped right back on their feet and rushed inside. The news were booming, filling the entire house. Grandfather was standing up, close to the screen. "What happened?" Sabrina asked. "A heart attack," Eric's mother said. "I think the pressure got to her in the end."